Okay, Angela, in another little video, we have talked about Hands-On Vallarta. Now, why don't we talk a little bit about some of the organizations that are going to be joining us in the event? Um, Even before we do that, let us clarify to the people that are watching. We coordinated with our wonderful sponsor, which is, of course, the Joint Boutique Hotel. We looked at the space, and with Alexis, who oversees all the logistics of events here, we pretty much decided that we had enough room for 12 organizations. So we set out looking for 12 organizations. We had a registration form. The only requirement really that we had is that the organizations had a good, clear set of guidelines and information to the volunteering opportunities that they had. How was that received when you discussed it with the organizations?
So, it was interesting, and I think I knew it would be a challenge because there are a lot of organizations here that really need help and they'd love to have volunteers, but they may not have thought through how to use the volunteers and what it would be like from a volunteer perspective to come to their organization. So making sure that they have some clarity on, do they want volunteers to drop in any time, or do they want them to come at certain days of the week or times of day? Are they comfortable with a drop-in volunteer, someone who's here on holiday just dropping in once, or do they want someone to really make a commitment? Have they thought about how volunteers will get to their location? Some of the organizations we've got participating we're interested are a little further out. So I think they have to get a little more creative on getting information about the bus, that sort of thing, knowing roughly what an Uber costs, encouraging people to ride share. And there's some groups in town that have really figured that out as to how to bring out volunteers to their organizations.
Do
So it
you
was a great challenge.
do you think some of the organizations are going to benefit from this
Oh,
awareness?
absolutely. I think already I have. And I'm pretty good at volunteer management. I taught this for a few years. So, it got me to get a lot clearer for my own charity about what do I need volunteers for right now, and what is the job like, and do I want someone to drop in, or do I need someone who's more committed, and how hard is the work? Here's something to also keep in mind. A lot of our volunteers are a bit older, and what's needed to keep them safe, right?
Of course.
Is there gonna be heavy lifting? Is there standing in the heat? Is there what's involved with that? And also to make sure that the organizations, because of our focus here on English speaking volunteers, that they're prepared to speak English with the people that come,
Of
and they're
course.
prepared to host people in English and give instructions and keep everyone safe.
You and I are of a certain age. I'm glad that you talked about special issues related to people of a certain age, because I would love to be proven wrong. I think it's easy for some of us that are a little bit older to think that the only people that are interested in volunteering are retirees. But I really hope I'm wrong.
I want to pull out Gen X. I'm Gen X, so I want to pull out the lots of Gen X people here working. And
And there's a lot of digital nomads, people that may
yeah,
find it in their hearts to give back. So,
yeah. And I was just at a huge clinic up north, and I met two young ladies who were probably, well, they're under 30 for sure, and they were there because their moms were involved. So there's another generation that often lives here or visits for extended periods,
uh-huh.
who also could get really interested in some of these groups. So
Now, you're closely associated with animal causes because you have an animal
yeah.
organization. Did you get a sense that some organizations out there thought, oh, this is going to be only about animals, so we're not interested?
Yeah, because my name is on it, and so they're thinking, oh, I thought it was just. A couple of people have said that to me. Oh, I thought it was just, shelters. And no, I'm also involved with some of the human organizations, and I think it's really important for people to have a range of things. Like when people say, oh, where could I volunteer? My first question is, what do you like doing?
Of
Because
course.
it's not about who needs you, it's also about what jazzes you,
Of
because that's
course.
what'll keep you interested and involved, and that's how you'll meet like-minded people too, right?
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some of the organizations that are going to be joining
Absolutely.
us. Let us start, if we may, with some of the, as you call them, the human organizations. For example, we have Amapa's Neighborhood Association. I mean, they do wonderful things for not only the neighborhood of Amapas, but they work with the city to do cleanups
Yeah.
and all kinds of
And I'm
things.
excited because they're, I think, the one organization we have here representing garbage too. And because they do
Yes.
garbage cleanup. And of course, that would be open, it would be in the Amapas area, but I'm sure it's open to residents from anywhere. And they would love their help. And there's a number of grassroots people doing garbage. And we weren't able to get many of them here into the group. But that's one of the ways I'd like to think about how can we help? What can we do? And a number of people pop up and they want to do something in their local area. And
Hmm.
so I love the idea of a very local group, and maybe they're a bit of a model for some of the other neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Absolutely. We also have the International Friendship Club,
Yeah.
who is in itself, it's a big umbrella organization that represents all kinds of smaller charities. So I am so excited to see what they bring to the table. They're constantly doing events and a lot of social things.
And I'm seeing this year a lot more events happening with them, a lot more activities. I have a friend who just recently started volunteering with them, and she's still getting her mind around all the things they do because there's so much. But it's a great place to volunteer and have camaraderie and know that everything is English, and most of it is very, very local. We could throw a rock and hit their clubhouse right now.
Yes,
So it's
absolutely.
right in town, and so for people for whom that's important,
Hmm.
that's a great fit.
We also have, let's see, well, Vallarta Cares is another umbrella organization that is not animal specific.
Absolutely. And they're not that far out. They're across the bridge, towards Costco, halfway to Costco from Old Town. And they've also recently, as we know, changed their name and expanded their mandate to go beyond just food bank, but also think about other ways of caring for our community
Hmm.
and providing education and training and showers and emergency support, etc. So there's all sorts of different ways to volunteer with them too that I'm interested in learning more about as well. And they're, I think, a great example of an organization that does really well with volunteers in high season, but as we go into the quieter times of year, a lot of organizations are really looking for more help. And that was the question I've been asked: is why now? Why are we doing this now?
Oh,
And
I
it's
have
the
a
perfect
perfect
time.
answer for that, and it's not very politically correct. But whenever people say something like, "Well, why when we are leaving?" and my answer is, Puerto Vallarta does not stop breathing because a number of English-speaking folk
Yeah.
leave town. Quite the contrary. In a way, Vallarta comes to life in the summer, and the needs are just as important.
Absolutely. And so, like many organizations, my organization does this a bit too, is we have summer volunteers that are really our core and our committed group. And in the winter, we'll often give them kind of a vacation when we have some short-term volunteers that can help fill in. But those summer volunteers are really core and really important to keeping services provided. Right. My organization, I amp up my services in the summer. I double my number of clinics because the vets are more available, and I run a spay and neuter clinic, and it's better to do 2 shorter days in the heat than to do one very long day. So we can keep going till 4 in the afternoon in this weather, but come a couple months from now, we need people and animals home and safe with water, and so we shorten those days and double our capacity. Well, we definitely need volunteers to cover that sort of thing. So the needs in many ways are greater in the summer. And
Absolutely.
if you are, I'll put in a pitch though, if you are someone who's leaving soon, this is still a great time to come in and get to know the organizations and think in advance of next year. And think in
Absolutely.
advance of how do you want to spend your time in Verita? How do you want to spend your retirement? You know? And volunteering is a great thing to include.
And it's a great way to get to know the community and get to make friends. Even before we talk about some of the animal organizations that are going to join us, I'm so happy to see an organization that I knew nothing about, La Bib.
Yes.
And I understand this is a children's library.
It's a children's library that Rebecca Stolinger, who's a local
She's
singer,
a local
performer,
guitarist. I think
she
she's a local
she
performer.
sings, and she sings as well. Beautiful voice
Yes.
and very diverse. I just heard her performing last night. She's amazing, and she has a child herself and is raising the child bilingual. speaking both Spanish and English. And what she found was that the library that's in town wasn't able to meet her needs. They have a limit of 3 books, and that's not how she thinks about books for her child. She wants a lot more books available, so she can only check out 3, and she wants a greater variety. So she is looking to start up a library. She's got, I think, about 1,000 books. She'll tell us more. And she's looking for volunteers to help with, cataloging and staffing the bilingual libraries it gets going. So that's
That's
probably, of all the organizations coming, one of the newest organizations. So a great chance to speak with Stoli about that.
I think that is absolutely wonderful. And it's worth mentioning also that in doing this, we were not looking necessarily for huge established organizations. All we were looking for is any group or any person that has clear information available of how they can empower volunteers to help with their mission.
Yeah. And getting to that clarity is great because we didn't want to restrict it to registered Mexican charities or registered U.S. or Canadian charities
No.
because there's so many groups here doing fantastic work.
Yeah.
And so this is a great way to bring them all together. Very
Excellent.
open.
Now, we've been talking about everything but our animal charities. Let's talk about yours first and foremost. Qualis Spay and Neuter Clinic.
Yeah,
Clinic.
so Quali, so we're there. We're going to be recruiting for sort of 3 positions. One is summer recovery volunteers, so after the animals come out of clinic. And we're especially looking for people that might have a little strength to be able to heave around those 40-pound unconscious dogs. And also specifically in the summer, because as I said, we double our capacity. We're also looking for transportation volunteers, people that are willing to drive crated animals to and from clinic. It's a real logistical barrier for a lot of the very hardworking trappers and people that get their neighborhoods coordinated. These folks don't have cars of their own. And then thirdly, I want to build a team for TNR.
What is TNR?
TNR is trap, neuter, release. So
Trap, neuter, release.
it works if you love cats. It works if you don't love cats. We all would like there to be fewer homeless cats and homeless dogs, but the cats in Vallarta are really a bigger issue. So I heard this great quote: you can't rescue your way out of overpopulation. And that's true. We've got to sterilize. We've got to spay and neuter. So we have 11 traps, 12 traps now that we lend out to people. We have coaches that can help. There's different parts to doing it. We can help set up teams in different local neighborhoods. And I love to spend 3 hours talking about trap, neuter, release. So that's quality.
That's wonderful. And we also have Friends of Puerto Vallarta Animals. We have Refugioteca Animal. That's another one that I don't know much about, and
Yep.
I'm looking forward to learning more about them. Sula Society, the Per Project. Why do you think there are so many animal organizations in Vallarta?
There's so many animals. And, people love animals. People really do. Want to help, and it's very hard to look at the suffering. And so, I think in most of the cases of all the organizations you've talked about, it's a small group of concerned people that start running a shelter because they just can't stand the suffering. And so, the 4 organizations, Friends of PV Animals helps at the city shelter, often called the Acopio. Teca Animalis is a little further out. I think they're in Nayarit. And they primarily focus on dogs, as does Sula Society, also a little further out. But they have a great program set up for ride sharing to drive out there with the volunteers. And Per Project, who also organizes rides to go out. They're I think they're in San Vicente.
I think they're in San Vicente, yes.
Yeah, and they've got a large organization and a well-developed volunteer program as well. So those, I think, are the 4 shelters that are participating.
By the time you watch this interview, we will have likely officially released our 12 participating organizations. Today, as we're recording this, we are still in the process of making our final selection. We ended up getting more than 12 applications, and due to space constraints, we have to make a choice. We have to let somebody know that they will be welcome at another time. And
Now we do have two more that I know we've confirmed that I don't think we talked about, and one is Rise.
oh, did we not talk about? Oh my
I don't
God, we
think we
didn't.
talked. We were talking about so much stuff. How could we not talk about Rise? But we didn't. But we will now. So Rise is a children's shelter. It's
Yes.
just above Emiliana Zapata. So it's about a 25-minute walk from where we are here.
Yes.
And they have a children's shelter where they have babies and children, I think, up to age 13. They'll tell us a lot more about their programming. They use volunteers, especially in the nursery with the young kids, and that's teaching English. So, you're the perfect person for it if you are willing to spend some time with little kids and help them learn their English, basic English. And then they have other programs where Spanish-speaking people can help the older kids with homework. They always need technical help because they're running an entire shelter, and they need a little plumbing, a little electrician, a little painting, all that kind of stuff. So there's lots of projects there. They're feeding people. They use help in the kitchen. So Rise will be here telling us what their current needs are. And then there was one more too, the Vallarta Garden Club.
My God, yes.
They're our last application.
They're
That's
our
why.
last application, and we were so happy. I was so happy to see the Vallarta
Yes.
Garden Club.
Because doesn't it just make us
apply.
all happy?
Yes.
The Isla Quale, what's been done there, started by Guy Weeks, thank you, and then maintained and grown by Sunny Rossi and the Vallarta Garden Club folks. And they do a great wine and weeding
Yes.
program. So come and what could be better than that? And they keep that going all summer. In summer, when the rains hit those gardens, anyone who's here in the summer knows everything just grows like crazy. So there's a lot of garden work in the summer. It's less watering, but more weeding and pruning and all that sort of stuff. So they'll be here talking about what they need.
Well, there you have it. We've
Yeah.
talked about all the organizations that are going to be here. We haven't even talked about why volunteer. Why volunteer in Puerto Vallarta? But we'll save that for another video. In the meantime, just know that a week from this Saturday here at the Joint Boutique Hotel and Cowork, you'll have a chance to connect with 12 amazing organizations here in Puerto Vallarta where you might be able to put your feel-good energy to good use as you consider volunteering.
Yeah, so that's March 22nd from noon till 3 here at the Vallarta, here at the Joint
Boutique
Boutique
Hotel.
Hotel. And it's great timing. You can come from the local markets are on. There's 2 markets within a 3-minute walk of here. And so stop at the markets, do a little shopping, hear a little music, and then come here and go a little deeper into our wonderful community.
There you go. Go a little deeper with Hands-On Vallarta.